Okay, good afternoon already. It's already noon. Welcome to our class in ITDB 401 Advanced Database Applications. And today we're going to be working with custom authentications. So which means through your application, we'll not be working, we're gonna be working with a separate table that comes with your username and password credentials. So which means whenever you open your application now, it will not it will not be checking for the default credential of the workspace, but rather it will be linked to one particular table that will matches the username and password. So this is good for majority of the course project students, especially if they are providing a separate table that there will be a credential for username and password. Suppose it's a client or even an admin will be also a part of that table. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. Okay, okay, yeah, this time. Okay, wait, I think I need to work with my Microsoft Edge browser, right? So just for a recap yesterday, so we have done pretty much a complex SQL from the SQL workshop. And what we have done is um, a multi-views that we have added as considered to be your interactive report from your application. So let me just use our Hans Apex credential and log in. Oops, wait, just one sec. Okay, so we are now inside our Oracle Apex. And then let's review first one of the schema, I think done by Fatima, I believe so, right? So, and that is, by the way, what's your student ID, Fatima?
42
42
S1
S1. I think this is the one,
6.
right? Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
that's one.
Yeah, this is the one. So I will be pertaining to the customer, okay, customer table. Just like I said yesterday, we will going to add one column here since we have already. We might be using customer ID as part of your username, and we will add one field. One second. I'm sorry, because currently I'm here at home, working at home. Okay, we'll see the data uh, that we have that you have entered here. All right. So for now, we might be using the customer ID as a username, and we will add on one column here that would be a password. We'll make a simple password anyhow. And let's just alter this table by adding a column, and we will name that one as a password, right? And that password is definitely it's a varchar 2. Suppose the size would be 15. Okay, for now let's set as null because of course we don't have yet data at the moment unless we have an empty table over here. All right, so probably we'll just have a default of 1234 just to check, just to check. And later on, we can now make this one as not null, of course, right? Just for random, let me just make it 1234 password. But of course, you can also apply much more secured password for this eventually, once that we are allowing them to have a complex password with a minimum number of characters and numbers and letters combination and special characters. All right. So now this time we have a password, and we will going to use the cost ID for the meantime as your username. Okay. Suppose you have done the schema. Of course, a part of the schema working on this is definitely will be provided. Even if this is an exam or a part of your mini project, you have to include this one already from the part of your schema. And working along with a custom authentication is, by the way, am I recording this one? One second. Yes. Working along with the custom authentication is we will need to work with a little bit of a PLSQL. So which means somewhere here in the object browser, this time it would be your first time to see to work on the functions, on the function, right? This one. So this will be a function. So I have some bunch of functions here, right? Which I made some custom authentication. You might see, I can show it to you, but we will work also the same like this. Right? Say, for example, I have Hansel underscore auth. This is now written as a function. So which means we will write the same code, right? And only a difference from working on your specific table, of course, because we're going to use that particular table as a part of your authentication. So where can you work on this one, by the way? We can start working on the SQL command. But first, I have to note what table was that. That is table of 42J. All right, this one. So we need this table, which is, let me just note it in my paper. So this is 42S163 63677 underscore customer one. Right. So which means our authentication code for your PLSQL function, we will create a function, will be going to link in this table later a bit. Okay. So I do advise first to test. And by the way, of course, the function name should be unique as well, right? So we'll just name this one later. So let me go back to the SQL command, and let's just write a simple function. A very, very simple function. You might have been remembered this one when you had your Oracle Foundation course writing with the PLSQL using authentication, particularly on authenticating your credentials on a particular table. So let me start with by creating, of course, let me just do this one a bit fast. Let me just write the create, and I might replace in case I have I have an existing one. But I name this one as a function. We'll name this one as a function, and we'll name your your PLS SQL as, let's say, order, since our application is order underscore cost, custom authentication, or auth. Let me just make it short. Right. This might be a case sensitive, but we'll see about this one. So this would be the name of our function. So we'll just create function name order underscore cost underscore auth. So of course I have to open and close parenthesis this one, and we will going to write some variables, assign some variables here. Let me just write first maybe p username, and within we'll set this one as a varchar 2 for the meantime, varchar 2. And another one will be, let's say, another variable is p underscore password. So this will be our variable will be assigned that later on we're going to link to your uh, table. Okay. So this time, let's write now the proper function of code, which is determine part of your body. So let's just make a return like a boolean, right? So because this is a part of your yes or no, a boolean execution for your username and password credential, and we'll make that one as, and let's assign another in case that the function will start validating it or it won't be validating. I will make another variable like exit or pw exit, right? We'll return to this one, and let's make this one as a varchar 2. Okay, this is like some exception in case it won't matches on your user credentials. All right. Now, of course, would be the body of your function. So let's start with the begin. Let me write some comments here. We will make a code that it will validate the user name and password are exist from the table. Right. So let me just like a comment like that. Right. Now, if we will make now uh, a select query out of this, since this is a PL/SQL combination. So let me just start with the select statement. And since we have a validation for exemption, let me just make it Y, capital Y, into that particular uh, variable that I have set. This is it's PW. This is case sensitive. PW or password underscore exit. Right. But if it will validate from which table, and of course we will now write your table, which is 42S16 uh 42S163677 a underscore customer one. So this is not case sensitive anyhow. Anyhow, I'll just make it all capital. Oops. The table is correct. Right now, of course, we will have a return value for this. Return if this is the true. And now let's terminate. So using your function, it would be better if we have exemption handling for this one. So which means it will make a loop, which means it will a part of the loop of handling error. I'll just add, this is just like the Visual Basic or .NET. So we have exemption that when probably when no data, we'll just name this one no data found, not no data found, and then we will go into return to your false, which is a boolean. This is the reason why I make it boolean, right? Return boolean, it will come as false. So I need to terminate this one, and I believe now we need to end now your function name, which is this one, order underscore cost, order um, order underscore cost and underscore auth. So this would be semicolon. So which means this should be end with that particular name that you have mentioned there. So hopefully this will work without an error. And once that I have run this one in the SQL command, the order underscore cost underscore auth should be created properly. Right. Hopefully, if we don't have any error within this every line. So if I run this one, okay, so 1 second, I have typical error, I think, but it's not coming on my screen. Not only I don't know if it was created, but I believe this yellow should be an error though. Let me just, if I rerun this one again, of course it will come as an error. How come I'm not seeing the comments here? Right. Okay, let's see if that order cost underscore auth was already created. So if I'll go back to object browser and function object and custom auth function, I think it's here now. Order cost, order underscore cost, right? And I think it was successfully created. I believe so. Right. Let me check whether the table is correct. 42S1 63677 underscore customer 1. All right. So I think this might work now, but only I noticed is we forgot to work with the where clause. And right, correct. I forgot to put the where clause somewhere here from the statement or to from this table. Yes, I can debug it over here anyhow. So let's add on where now this time I don't know the 1 second. I don't know the field names we have given. I think cost underscore ID, I believe. 4 6 4 2 customer. Where okay, cost underscore ID and password. Okay, so let's go back to that function. Now, no, not this one. Right. So let's put some where clause here where let's make it all capital, all the clauses where your cost ID, okay, cost underscore ID is should be equal to the variable that we have set there, which is p underscore username, logical and, right, which is will match on the password column name, which is also equal to the variable that we have set there. 1 second. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay, password is the variable we set is p underscore password. Right. So I think I need to terminate this one also as well with semicolon. Right. I think that was the error because I forgot to terminate this from. If I don't have where clause, I should have terminated after the table. So if I save this one, okay, there you go. I have some comp is now order cost exempting some following cases. I think some case sensitivity over here. So it was saved, but there was some syntax error that came into my code. And let's check whether in line number 12, okay. So we have normally a problem when it comes to a very long table name. If I will put here double quote, I think this will work fine though. In 16 now, in 16. Okay, in 16. Return true. I have exception when no data found. Okay, in 16 I have some error. and then return. This one. I need to see the indentation for this. Um, Encounter the symbol when. Okay, somewhere here in 16 I have error, and 19 as well. Order cost auth case. Let's see once again. Okay, number 16. Okay, if I will make this capital letter, let me try. Probably cost ID and password. Anyhow, these are only the fields actually. And I'm still getting some error on line number 19. And order cost underscore auth. Okay. So we might check some running function over here, since almost similar though. Only the table might not be working different, of course. Let me just open one staff authentication here. Right. I believe it's pretty much the same. Only the variables is different. I think the word exception though. Did I wrote it correctly? Yeah. Yep. The word exception is misspelled. Correct. This one with C. Right, with C. So let's save this one. And there you go. So don't worry, I'll be providing this code from our e-learning so that you can just reuse this code and practice also by just modifying the table. But now it's been having some problem in Oracle if you're quite having a long table name with a combination of numbers. Yeah, because this is basically the rule of ITDP 101. We never start with the name of the table, which is a number, right? Otherwise, if this is just customer one, no issue without double quote. But since this we started with a number, so we have to put double quote. Okay, now, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? So we will going to apply this custom authentication in one of your application. Application should be already created, of course. And let's head on to your application builder. Then let's go back to the uh, order app that we are using, I believe created by Fatima during the midterm exam. And let's run this one for right. This time I'm logging in as one of my Oracle Apex credential, right? If I sign in, of course, it should work, right? It should work. But what we will do next, let me sign out again. What we are going to do next is we will edit this application. Okay, so we'll edit the application. Anyhow, it's already open over here. From the shared components. From the shared components, we can still customize the authentication inside the shared components. And inside the shared components, particularly in the part of the security, we have here authentication scheme. Right, see that one? Authentication scheme, right? So this authentication scheme, if I open up this one, there will be a default authentication scheme, which is already created. Right, see, it's almost 13 days ago uh, when it was created during the midterm exam. So this was the current authentication scheme. So which means we can create a new one authentication scheme later by creating a custom authentication. But don't need you don't need to delete this one. because we can later switch into to application express account by default and switch it back to custom authentication and save it. So let's just create a new one inside this authentication scheme, and there will be, of course, a process flow once again. So which means this will be the method we'll be adopting. Of course, we will be creating based on the pre-configured scheme from the gallery. So we have some selection of pre-configured, but it would be customized based on the function that we have created. But if we have an existing authentication, we can also do so. We will copy it from other application or even from other workspace. So for now, we'll base it on the pre-configured scheme from the gallery. If I click next, okay. Okay, we need to name, of course. We have to name now. This is the not unique anyhow. Just any name will do. And we will name this one as like, we'll just link it to the name of our order app underscore custom authentication. Right. Quite long though, but anyhow, this is not a unique one. But the scheme will not be application express account anymore. It would be a custom, not the database account, but it would be a custom. Though we have several scheme here, which is much more advanced, like which I have taught the HTTP header variable in the database security application, and even using the LDAP directory using Microsoft Active Directory. And even if you want no authentication at all, with an open credential as well, scheme type, Oracle Application Server single sign-on, and social sign-in. This is like now the common features that you're having in your mobile phone, especially if you're logging into your personal social media. Once that your email credential is logged into your phone, you can just select like a Google account, and automatically you can register or log into a typical social media account, or not only social media account, any kind of application that needs one single sign on the server, right? But for now, we will select a custom, right? So the custom authentication only needs to fill is this part, the authentication function name. Other than that, just leave it all empty. Even this authentication attribute should not be set. But only we need to write on is the authentication function name. So remember, what is the name that I have recently created? I think I named that one. I forgot now. What is that name, by the way? Mhm. Let me copy this one and paste it here. Um, Go back to public browser. It's very particular on that name function, and okay, order underscore cost underscore auth. Let me just capture this one. Right. Now, once that you have grabbed the name of your, identified the name of your created function, of course, now you have to type it over here, authentication function name. There, right. Now, if I create authentication scheme, by default, this will be now the default authentication. Okay, let me just hit this button and it will be created. See, it's there. So by default, you see the current there, and dash current, which means the application express account default will not be longer working anymore. You can test that one again. Again, this is my credential. If I sign in, it won't work, right? Because we have created a custom authentication based on that particular account, which is linked to your table customer one. Oh, now let's try to work on this. Save example, or anyhow, I'm here already on the object browser. Let me go back to that table, um, 42S, 42S. Okay, let's open up the customer one table created by Fatima, and let's grab one of these credential. Remember, we have set cost ID, cost underscore ID as the username and the password. Eventually, you can also check and change that one to cost underscore email. But This cost underscore email should have a constraint, which means it should be unique though, so that it will not be having any problem in your integrity constraint over here. So let me just use Abdullah's account. Abdullah is customer ID 1 and 1234. Okay. This is whether your code is really works fine though. Okay. The username is 1 because that's the customer ID and this is password 1234. And if I click the sign, it should come. Perfect. So you have done perfectly now a custom authentication. You can see now there the login is 1. It so happened because the username is 1. And if we will going to use Omar, which is 21, I'll show you. Let's sign out, and 21 is the username. Anyhow, if you have changed and set your constraint on the username set as your email, 1234, of course, it would be also be allowed here. And there you go. See, perfect. So this is what have we done on custom authentication. Just for a review, of course, the schema should have a complete credentials, either the way it's customer ID or ID itself, or if you have set as unique on the customer email, that would be better, so that it will be linked to your email and the password. Right. So this time I can now make this one as not null. Anyhow, I can now modify this, alter this one as not null because anyhow it's already been populated. Right. Password should not be null, definitely. So click next, finish. Right. So once that you have already created your perfect custom authentication, which under the function, and it's already here as custom authentication, right? So you all you have to do is, of course, to set with your custom fields, whatever your table will going to have this condition between the customer ID or any username. It depends. It's either your email column or password, or sometimes maybe a mobile number if it's unique, or a civil ID number or something like that. As long as that carries the primary key or unique constraint on that particular field. Password doesn't matter, so as long as the password should not be null there, of course. And upon doing this one, since now we are working with a custom authentication, okay, what we are going to do next is the most interesting part of creating the custom authentication, that only the person who log in should only see their own information. This is the most interesting part of this application. So remember that we have completed this complex SQL by creating multiple views on the transaction, right? Let me just open up this one for you, right? See, it was Omar is there and Abdullah. But the problem is every single information appears over the credential of, I think, what's the name of that username? 1 second. For 2s. Okay, let's head on to our data. Okay, Abdullah. Okay, so which means Abdullah supposed only to see his transaction based on the view that we have created yesterday. So how can we filter this one? So remember, this customer name was used to be a customer ID. If you still remember yesterday, I just applied a dynamic LOB here. You can check. I edit this one, and of course I changed only the label of that header. See, it's a customer ID, but I just only make that one as a type based on the list of value, and which I believe that Fatima already created that LOB. I just used that LOB name, customer LOB, which she created during the midterm exam. So it's a dynamic one. So which means only it will appear the name of that particular um, equivalent customer ID. By I just only changed the header, but literally it is customer ID based on the view that we have created yesterday. So why I'm showing you this? We will go into filter. We will go into filter uh, the function of the app user, whoever logging in your account, right? So which means I just want to see the the customer ID of this particular table that will only equivalent to that login credential. And how can we do that one? So from the page designer, you can head on to your transaction total price region. This is where we created the view. And you will see the region here from the right panel is by default, of course, the sources, particularly the sources, is a local database. It's a local database. So we will not do anything from there. But over here, we have a type table slash view because we just linked this one to your created um, view yesterday. But instead of doing this, we will make the type as a SQL query. If you select the SQL query, it will show you this SQL's window here. I can click this one to enlarge this, and there you go. So by default, this would be now our SQL statement. These are the fields that we have created on that particular view, which is view 5, if you remember yesterday. So why we need to set as a SQL? Because we were going to make a where clause over here so that whenever certain user we're going to log in, and that equivalent should be based on the username app. So what I will do is I will add a where clause here. I will add a where clause, and I will going to grab this customer ID, then equal to the function of BF user, which is the built-in um, function of PLSQL expression, just like what we have done during your um, server-side condition. So we will use the same function. So B, which is app underscore user. This will hold this will hold whoever the current user login. So remember, it was showing here the customer ID. That's why I make it equal to the customer ID, right? If I click OK this one and save it, and we'll see now the result. If I run this, there you go. Only Abdullah will appear. Abdullah's transaction will only appear on that particular ledger. So it's pretty cool, right? So what we have only done is we select that region which we have created based on the view. Instead of the table slash view type of from the source, we change this one to query, SQL query, and we have added a where clause. So I just capture customer ID because that is one of the column field of that order underscore items underscore B5 view that we have created yesterday. And with that, we should be equal to this function of PLSQL. So similarly, if you're doing a transaction based on your services on your application, you have to apply this one as well because you don't want to show the other records which that belongs to you, right? So say for example, I think we have done one more application here from 1 second. Ladies, if you have some doubts, don't hesitate to ask, okay? Since you're seeing some demonstration over here. Most common mistake of the students are basically uh, the function, normally from the function codes that I have shown you. So I either the mistake in the name of the table or the fields or some syntax error basically. So now let me try to open transaction report, which we have done it before. And of course, similarly to that one, I think there are two regions I have shown here. I'm sorry. Okay, one second. My son is 1 second. Okay. Right. So now you can see this transaction report is totally it's having all records that's not supposed to be seen by I think Abdullah, right? Otherwise, if you are an administrator, that can be done. We can see all of these, but we have to enter, of course, our credential here. And only missing here is I think a role. If I put some role here, and if I'm an admin, otherwise we can make a query condition for that if I'm an admin. Or if in case I just want to add my information here, and let's say if I will insert probably I need to insert my information. So where's the data? Insert row, and say for example my customer ID. I'm not the customer, but I will just make myself as an administrator, right? Say Hansel .bs at sct.edu.om, and we will just play along with the condition there. If you'll be seeing my information there. So customer address, say number, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just added my name here. Just in case, we can just do that filtering over here. If otherwise, if I'm seeing, I want to see all the records. So which means it should not be filtered on my side. But for now, say for example, I want only to see Abdullah's information. So edit the page. So we have a couple of regions to edit here. Technically, we need to delete this one anymore because as far as this second region here, we have completely get the information. But anyhow, this one are the detailed one though. So let it be. So we can just practice. Transaction report from the top. Change the type into a SQL query and just zoom this out and you'll see the code editor, and added aware clause that it should be equal to the customer ID. Customer ID must be equals to app user. This is the function, built-in function of PLSQL. Okay, app underscore user. Right. Let me just copy this one down and redo that one on the other region. And here in the other region, also I will change this one to SQL query and just add on this customer ID. Yes, the same. And okay. Now if I save this one, now we should be seeing only uh, Abdullah's transaction, right? If you remember, we have Omar transaction. So let's try to log into Omar credential, which is 21. I'll make this one 21, and this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. If I signed in, head back to this transaction report, he can only see Omar. So 21, see, he's 21, right? Don't be confused with the order ID because this one is 21, customer ID. So another question is, remember I just added my name. For now, of course, I don't have any transaction. Definitely, I should not be seeing anything here. But if I will log in, let's see how it looks. I think my username is 100 now. And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4. If I will go one of these transaction, see, I'm not seeing anything because I'm newly added and I haven't done any transaction yet. So similarly from the other transaction report, see, yeah. So basically, this is quite common in most of the application. so they can probably create or doing some transaction. But this one, of course, we just added here. But of course, you don't want also to see all of these. But we have to design the application interface more proficient. And particular window or interface RDE should be only be seen by particular users, right? So since I added my name there, how can I how can I make use of seeing every single transaction over here? Otherwise, if I am an admin, I can make use of this one as an admin. The problem is if I will just barely use this where clause, I can only see also my transaction only. That's the problem, right? There's no other way that I could see everything other than I'm an admin anyhow. I want to see all the transaction made by the customer. So we should have another where clause here that will say that it will still be checked whoever the customer ID will log in, but it will also be seen all the information of if I'm an admin, as if I mean to say if I'm a username as mode or what do you call that one role as an admin. Actually, we can play along with that one if we wanted to add one more column when it comes to this one, like a role, right? Say role of this typical users would be client example, and except for me, I will be an admin, right? So for example, let's add one role. Let's add one role. We'll name that the column would be role, of course. And of course, you have to populate that one. And this would be a var character, a var char. And let's say 10 size. And let's finish this one. And of course, we have to populate some information for now. So since we have now a role here, except myself is I must be an admin, which means in your form, if you have a form that you can create users, so this role should be there, of course. So which means you can take if you they are by default they are client only, or special case if you are an admin or super user. Okay, let me just put on client here. No problem. Client. So if it's any name will do actually. Valid also will be a client or customer. No, or just I'll make it client. I don't know what's the proper setting for this role. Just to differentiate the type of accessibility over here, right? Sometimes some codes they made numbers actually. They just make one as client, two, one must be admin, and the other numbers will be clients, like two. But for now, of course, this is a bar chart, so we have to follow this. Okay, now, so for now, I just populated this one, right? I just populated this one. So what are we going to do is we will customize this page that uh, if I'm an admin, since my credential is on the same table, I should see everything though. So I have to see all the what do you call this one? All the transaction, even though I didn't make the transaction. But otherwise, if I'm just an ordinary client, I can only see my my transaction, of course. So let's see how to work on that. Currently, this time, the client is, I mean, the where clause is just based on the customer ID client. So if we can play along with this one by showing up all the information based on the credentials, of course, and we will see if this information will also be a part of that. And what we were going to do will be, probably I'll just hide this one for a while. Alright, for now, I'll just hide it for a while. We don't need this one for the meantime. Right. Okay, so which means I'm seeing now everything, even the other account. But what we will going to do will be, instead of filtering over here, what we can do is we can head on to your server side condition with the server side condition. So which means we will write a query. Before, we remember that we have only done expression, right? So this time we will write now rows return, rows return, that one like this, right? But before we have to head on to that one, I have to show you this table first. We will make use of this table and we will write a query that will going to compare to the BApp user, of course. So let's make that one for testing for now. Say, for example, we'll write select statement, select one only from the table. What is that one? 4 to S 163 677 677 underscore customer customer one, where okay now we have a B app user still. B app um, app user will make use of this condition of the, what do you call this one, of the role, of the role. And okay, probably we can make use of role. Either I will make this one role. Okay, B app user, let's say, or probably role. 1 second. This is a bit confusing. Um, role, role, of course, role should be equal to, okay, if I put here role equals to single quote admin, we have to link that one to your B app user. All right. So how can we work with this one? We cannot do both equal like this actually, which means B app user. Okay, I don't know if this will work though. I think this won't work. Yeah, I think there's an error though. There's an error. Right. Okay, this row won't working in this manner. Okay, it's better to check how I wrote this one. Let me just save it for a while. And let me check how I wrote that one in one of my workspace. Just copy that particular. Okay. This is very interesting if you have come across with your filtering, particularly on the client side server. You will going to fully control all the accessibility of your application. Say, let me just log in as an admin here. Suppose I'm seeing every single students here. But if the teacher will just log in as a typical user, only his advisee list will appear. But for me, I'm having a full control, so I can see all the students. So let's see how I wrote that one. I still remember, particularly on that region, summary of advice. Second, student details, I believe. Okay, okay, it's a bit longer though. The app user equals to, okay, even this one as well. Okay, let me just copy this one and we'll just modify it though. See, even the dean, they can see everything if they're going to log in. Say, for example, I'll just copy it now, right? And let's go back to our, okay, so this is Hans Apex. So let's do some customization on that once again. Okay, let's run that one and back on to one of these. Yeah. Okay, edit the page and okay. I think that the other page I have modified the. Okay, anyhow, we need only the server side condition, return rows. Okay, right. Okay. Select one first. I will write okay, from 4 to S 163677 underscore or 1. Okay, I think this is where we need to capture this one. Copy paste. Okay, now this is a table though, of course. Okay, so which means I might use this table now, this one, and it would be role. One second. Mm, that is cost ID, I think. Cost ID, cost ID, and this time I'm now a user. Actually, even the admin never works anymore though. Okay, this is 100, right? And this time we don't need this one anymore. Believe. Yes. E, because I have another authentication over here. Right, the customer ID along with a username, and I need to see also the role later. I will change this one later as a role. Let's see if this works. Okay, ideally now I'm logging as 100. Let me try to sign out and let's log into Abdullah. I think yeah, Abdullah's account. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's not yet been filtered because the role is not been set yet. So which means I'm still seeing every single information, which only supposed to be Abdullah only, right? Okay, so this time, so we probably now make use of the role. Okay, this is already the customer ID, by the way, right? Which means this is separate B app user equals to this table, which is equivalent to So we'll try this one as phone equals to this one is phone equals to client. All right. Then the VF user. Okay, let me just remove this one though. Is equals to client. No, no, no. What is this? Yes, cost ID. And I think I need to make a logical and here. Right, a bit complex, but we'll see if this works. And anyhow, I'll just make use of only one though. Right, save it. Okay, if I run this one, okay, it's not filtering. Uh, the client side. Let's see if this works fine. Let's oops, it's not working. So which means return rows return, no rows return. 1 second. Plus okay. So which means it's now hiding here over here. Right, correct. So this one returns right, and the BF user is correct. So BF user or customer BF user is shows there, and then of course now from here transaction now we can now enable this one. There you go. See? So this time we have make use of the authentication based on the credentials on your custom authentication PLSQL function that we have created. So we could have a super user or like a typical admin, and basically we can also filter also those clients that were only supposed to see their transactions. So you can only work on that once that you have already completed the custom authentication function, and only you can work either in the source type of SQL query by adding the where clause, and also along with this content of your returns. So which means you could have a fully access of working on this as well. So which means if he is not the client or if he is not an admin, say for example, if the role is okay, is admin, okay, he's not supposed to see this though. Okay, if the role is admin, if I run this one, right, of course, because it's return value will be there, role, that customer, which is P app, app user, Okay, so be app user. Okay, wait a minute. Why I need to do this one? All I need to work is with this no returns, of course, and it should be none, right? So since he is not an admin, so he's not seeing everything, right? So all of this one will be a part of your mini project as well. So you should add on particularly on your schema by working on to your uh, users client table. So which means it's better to work on cost ID with the customized data here. Say for example 100 or 200 or 1001, 1002. But otherwise, no problem. You can just hang on to the auto generated triggered of the primary key, and that will hold your username. And the password, of course, will be set upon. And then, of course, if you want just to work on a role, you can work on that one and play along with the where clause condition here, right? The where clause condition. So we are only working in between the server-side condition and using the source type SQL query, and the rest of which will be fully controlled, whoever having this access control. So which means we can only work on the access control by pointing to your username credential if you have already created the function, customized function authentication. So nevertheless, you could not work on this customer table and role equals to admin. So you won't be able to work on this if you don't have this role or any column that you want to work with your condition in your table, right? Otherwise, from our previous lesson, we cannot do this one. We just use what? It's only an expression, right? This is what we have only work on that. Okay, so this time I might end up the lesson today, and inshallah tomorrow we'll refine some other schema working on the images using blob, and and probably we could nearly almost complete the our outcomes. Probably we still have less than 2 weeks to complete, and I'll give you time, of course, to also to complete all your mini projects so that you can prepare as well. And nevertheless, the last outcome will be just barely administration works and some other beautification of your Oracle Apex application. Okay, so tomorrow, so don't be, inshallah, don't be absent. We'll be working with some customization using a blob objects or data type that we can also store some different file or images within Oracle Apex table, and then we can also display that one as a picture or image. Okay. So any question, ladies? Fatima and
No,
Tupul?
teacher.
Okay. So hopefully you are now starting with your project. Tupul, I saw um, your submission last night, but make it sure just complete the other elements of your ERD because that cardinality is very important also. So which means you should know particularly if they are one to one, one to many, or one to optional, optional to optional, many to many, and some other cardinality that link to your entities. But anyhow, everything's good though, right? Everything's good. So I'm very happy with the schema that you have submitted to me. So you don't even anticipate that you are only working with three tables. That's good because when it comes to Oracle Apex, it doesn't matter if you have very complex schema because working on the application is a bit more fast, rapid application deployment, and it's quite easy to customize other than simplifying your table and then everything is quite simple, right? That's better. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow and hope you working on your project at the moment now. Okay, so bye bye for now. You can leave now the channel. I will going to share this one in our e-learning as a part of your reference. Okay, I'll stop now the recording. Bye bye for now.